We will now begin the City of Boynton Beach special meeting. Would everyone please rise for the invocation led by Commissioner McCray, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us bow to the Creator and Maker of all mankind. We come this afternoon in the humblest manner that we know how. We come first recognizing that Thou art the Creator, and besides Thee there is no other. We ask as we've taken this meeting this afternoon that You will lead us and guide us and let us deliberate and go out with a closed mind doing the right thing for the city of Boynton. In Your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Stephen Grant.
Here.
Vice Mayor Justin Taft. Absent.
Oh, he's running
He will
late.
be running late,
He's 10
so.
minutes late.
Commissioner McIntyre.
Here.
Commissioner Christina Romulus.
Present.
Commissioner Joe Costello.
Here.
Quorum is present.
All right, thank you. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Agenda is approved. We will now begin the update on the Town Square Phase 1.
All right, well, we're going to stand up and do this so the audience can see us, but Colin Groff, Assistant City Manager, and the, I guess, Program Manager right now for this project. So what we want to do tonight is really go through where we are in a workshop setting of where we are right now on this plan and on this project. Feel free as we go through it to stop us and ask questions. If you have questions on the slide, we have some places to stop and ask some questions of you. At the end, we're going to ask some questions to get some consensus at the end of our presentation. We're going to have all of our contractors present their portion of it, so you won't listen to me the whole time. Just to start off,
Colin, excuse me, I want to make sure it's for the record. We can stop you anytime we get ready and speak.
absolutely, that's what this is. This is a workshop, interactive workshop. So if you have a question or you have any, just stop us. If we don't stop right away, wave your hand really hard, and I'll try to make sure I'm watching.
Hey, Colin.
Yes.
Why don't we do some introductions?
That's what I'm going to do right now. So I want to introduce a few people that are going to do some presenting tonight, and then I'm going to introduce all the teams. Mark Heffron, y'all have met with E2L Real Estate. He is in charge of the master developer, so he's kind of running the whole thing and keeping everybody going in the same directions. Wayne, and I never can say his last name, so I don't even try.
Dunkelberger.
There, Dunkelberger is our primary architect for the Town Square project, probably one of the best architects around. Robert High is our contractor for our police station and fire station, and
John somewhere.
I don't see Jeff from Straticon. If not, I'll do Straticon, but they were going to present their part, and then let's see, that's probably it's going to be presenting tonight.
Robert and Haskell's here.
And then we have Haskell here. Now I'll go ahead and introduce. So this is a project. Our team is really us as the city. The CRA is part of our team. And then we have E2L Real Estate Solutions, ADG Architects. They're the architects for the police station and the fire station. HG High Construction is the contractors for the police station and fire station. REG, that's Rick Gonzalez. He's the architect for the high school. And then Straticon is the high school contractor. Baker Barros is with who's Wayne's with. That's the architect for City Hall and all the infrastructure downtown. Haskell Construction is the contractor for all of that work downtown. Kimley Horn are the primary engineers for all of the projects that we're building. And then JKM Developers, they are the private developers for the residential portion of it. And E2L is the developer right now for the commercial portion of the project. So that's kind of our team. And we've been working like daily for the last 3 months on this project. We've had a lot of meetings with staff, a lot of meetings outside, inside. We've taken a couple trips, looked at some things. And then Charlie just walked in from Haskell, so I'll introduce him at the end. All right, so where are we?
Colin, if you don't mind me stopping you.
Yes.
Hi, it's me.
Yeah,
Looking, we're like, where's that sound coming from? Can you just clarify where and how long this meeting has been publicized? Because I'm getting a lot of comments from the public that this wasn't a very publicized meeting.
Right. This one, 2 weeks ago, We advertised this 2 weeks ago. Yes, it was, we didn't plan this 2 months ago, so we didn't have time to advertise. We started advertising the time, as soon as we decided we were going to do it, we started advertising it. We didn't do as much as we did for the workshops. What happened was we're moving along, and we really felt like we're at a point where we really needed to do a workshop with the elected officials to get your feedback, because we're getting feedback from the public, but we're not getting your feedback yet. So we felt like we really needed to do that fairly quickly. We got out as much as we could and get it out as our normal ways of doing commission. We've announced it at the commission workshops. We did put it on the web. We have advertised it everywhere we can. We did not do the brochures like we did for the workshops and the job fair. We did not do that because those take a little bit more time, and we didn't have time to put them together. So we didn't do that. But other than that, we did all the other media outlets that we normally use.
Okay, thank you, Colin.
And we're going to be having many more of these, I see, as we progress through this project. Some will come up in a matter of 2 weeks. We feel we need a decision from the commission. We're going to do everything we can to blast it out, but we won't always have the luxury of the beautiful marketing that Eleanor and the team has done, getting the brochures and the banners out, because that has really gotten the word out.
Right.
We'll be doing quite a few more.
Exactly. And tonight is really for...
Lori, excuse me, that's 4 weeks in a month, and I'm just saying we have commission meeting twice a month, and I'm just saying, it's
hear
kind
ya.
of a burden like for me to have to drop what I'm doing to come down to do all these that I'm doing, and I'm just saying, I feel like it's an inconvenience for me, and I'm just saying let's do as much as we can. We have commission meeting. That's my request.
And that's our goal, too,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We do want to do it during commission meetings. This one's just a little bit longer. The other thing, too, is that, again, this is a workshop for the elected, for y'all to tell us. So we want to make sure we have to do it in the public, and we want the public to see what we're talking about, but we really want to have a discussion with you tonight. So what we're going to talk about is the current status of the project, the public workshops that we've been having. We've had 2 of the 3 public workshops. We're going to talk about a little summary of what occurred in those. Some of y'all have attended those. We're going to talk a little bit about the high school renovation and where we are on that. The police department site plan, which is, again, at the High Ridge site. Talk a little bit about that. And then the town square site plan, which will take probably the most time going through that. We're going to talk a little bit about, we do not have what goes on what floor and floor plans and all that, but we have a basic layout of City Hall, and we want to show that to you. It's a basic layout of what each floor and how that would look. And then we want to talk a little bit about the district utility, which is the chilled water plant to serve all of this. So spend a little bit of time on that, and then we have a couple of decisions that you need to make on that, if you choose so, to move that project forward. And then we have at the end, we'll just ask some consensus questions to see if we're going in the right direction. So, current status. We have conceptual building footprints and space programming, how much space we need in the buildings. We've completed that. That was a lot of work with a lot of different staff members. So we kind of know what size we need now, building-wise, and how much space we need. Conceptual site plans. We're going to show you tonight the conceptual site plan we've come up with after 7 or 8 iterations, maybe 10 iterations of the site plan. We've had 2 public workshops on the playgrounds and architectural styles. We've had a lot of meetings on the financial part of this, because there's a financial plan that goes along with this. And we've been doing a lot of meeting on that and figuring out how do we put all this together in a public-private partnership that works for the city and for the taxpayers. And then the high school, if you've noticed, there's a fence up around the high school. So we've started. They're in the process of getting permits for the remediation and the abatement process that they're going to go through, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a little while. So that's...
I want to stop you. Since y'all put the fence up around the high school, parking is a premium for individuals who come in now to use City Hall, and if employees will not park in there, and if you all can move your car someplace else, I'm just saying, because I'm hearing a lot of gripe, like saying, we have no place to go. It's like bam, bam, I was the one that complained about y'all energy car that took up 2 parking spots, and I asked you all to move it. I'm just saying, we got to be cognizant on we don't have space now.
Right, you're absolutely right. We're going to be doing some more planning, moving some more employees out of those parking to make sure the public has enough parking. We're working on those plans right now. You're absolutely right. The employees are going to have to park a little bit further away and walk. And parking is going to be a premium throughout this project until we get a garage built. And once that's built, parking will be a little bit less of a premium, but it'll still be a premium. So that's a good point, though. We want to make sure that the employees are parking away so the customers and the citizens can park up close to where they need to do their business. So little current schedule. Tonight we're doing an update. Tomorrow is the job fair. This thing has grown huge. It's going to be a very large job fair, morning and afternoon. The morning is for subcontractors, and the afternoon is for people looking to maybe get onto this project with a job and that. So it's morning and afternoon. I think it's fairly large. We have a lot of people signed up, a lot of people coming. So I think it's going to be really good for the project. And then the 24th, which is Thursday, we have the last workshop, which is Open Space Public Art Workshop. So that's Thursday. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun the way they have that set up. We're going to get a lot of input from the public. And then the 19th, talk about what we talked about earlier. We're going to, if we need to do an update, we're going to do it at the commission meeting, we hope, although that's a budget meeting also. So we'll play it by ear. We don't want to, we don't want to do too much. But if we need to do an update, it'll be very short, and we'll do one then. Keep it very short. The end of September, we're due some draft site plans and building plans based on the input we hear tonight and the input from the public workshops. And then the October 17th, we're hoping to have the draft financial plan in front of you for review, make some decisions on that. And then November 7th is really making the decision whether or not you want to move forward to phase 2. So that right now is the tentative schedule. It is subject to change as things happen, but right now that's the tentative schedule. Any questions on that? All right. So, public workshops, we did heavily promote the public workshops in the job fair. So we've done postcards, flyers in 3 different languages, press releases, the social media outlets, and all of these other ways, email distributions to the HOA and the churches, the city's website, and we've announced it several times at the commission meetings. And I will say we've had a great turnout so far. I mean, we've had a great, the 2 workshops we've done have been actually fun. We've had really good input. The citizens, that came provided their input, and it was great input. Got a lot of new ideas from that. So I think it was great to do. And I told you at the beginning of the project we would do these because that's where the best ideas come from, and that's actually turning out to be true. We just want to let you know that those have been very well attended. So the first one, and I'm going to turn this over to Wayne now, is going to talk about these workshops. So the first one we did was on the playgrounds.
We'll share.
Okay.
Hello. Yes, the first workshop we had a couple weeks ago, it was on the playground. We got a lot of good feedback. We had about 40 people here. We showed them some new playgrounds and then also talked about the historic playgrounds that are there now. So we were able to get all of that feedback, all of that information from everyone that was here. And if you could go to the next playground. Some of the images we showed many, and one of the more popular ones was a style, this type of a style with recycled materials, and also safety was probably one of the most important things that we heard from the public. That and saving some of the existing pieces of the playground. And then we also had, just last Thursday, the architectural style meeting as well. We showed 3 different styles of architecture.
I need
Yes,
to
sir.
stop you because the architectural style for the playground, you said y'all discussed saving some of the that we already have. I need to ask a question. Did y'all come to, saying that you all are able to save any?
We're actually working on that now. We have people looking at that, and then we think that there are pieces that can be salvaged. Yes. And then we're doing the architectural style. We had that last Thursday, and we looked at 3 different styles that are appropriate for Boynton. We had about 70 people for that meeting. Got a lot of great input, both on style, colors, and also the public realm was a very important part of that, and being open to the public. So we've took that feedback. The 3 styles that we had was neoclassical, Mediterranean, and then we also had a coastal style. And if you could go to the next slide. One of these was a Mediterranean contemporary, which got a lot of positive feedback. Part of it was the plaza and part was the color. And then the next, and also the stair step to the right. In addition to that, we also showed another contemporary Mediterranean, which also got positive feedback. Part of the arbors, the massing of the building, and then the quality of the structure. And finally, we also had some comments on coastal, in which we took those comments back as well. So from those inputs, from the input of the public, we're going to look at those 3 styles of architecture.
All right, well, I'll cover the high school real quick. So, any questions on the architectural style of the workshops? Again, we had great feedback. I think we've got good direction from the public. We want to, we're going to ask you if that's the direction that the commission likes also. But we did get, we do think that contemporary Mediterranean with a flair of coastal, influences is what really everybody gravitated to by the end of the workshop. So we're going to move in that direction unless somebody says, no, absolutely not, we want neoclassical or something. But we really do think that's unique. That'll be unique to Boynton Beach. It does bring in some of the Meisner architectural styles that we already have in Boynton Beach and some of the Mediterranean. And we did get a lot of comments. I just want to say, Wayne didn't say, we had a lot of colors on colors that they don't want those, whatever they're called, dark colors. So we're not going to go there. We want the more lighter ocean type colors. So that's what we're looking for. So
I was unable to attend this event as I was in Orlando for the League of Cities conference. I would have liked to see more examples of what each of those styles meant, I guess, in terms of what the public saw.
Yeah, we put it on the website, and I'll send you some. I mean, we have how many pictures?
I
there was a bunch of pictures, so we'll send them to you and let you look through them. Because if you couldn't, it was really interesting. There was really a very leaning toward that people didn't like the neoclassical look because it looked too much like other cities, and then the solid old Mediterranean was too much like other cities. So that contemporary Mediterranean with a little bit of the coastal village type look really caught people's eye, because I don't think there's a lot of that around, right, Wayne? And I think those are on.
Yeah, that's correct. And also, in addition to that, Colin, I think that a lot of the public input was on the ability to have open space and have that architecture provide shade and areas for people to gather. Was part of it.
Yeah, that was really part of it. Was they liked the way it, you provided that outdoor space built into the buildings. It also provided the connection to all the outdoor space we're creating. So I think when you get to the building footprint, you'll see why that style really will fit the building footprint that we're looking at. So, but that's great question.
Colin, the paints, not to get into the color schemes yet, but reflective paint, do we talk about that? I was at that meeting.
Yes, we talked about reflective paints, we talked about whites and grays, and then we also talked about paints that can save energy on the building. And that was a pretty big topic as well, the lead component and building efficiency. So we took quite a bit of notes on that and how paints and roof color can support that.
Good.
All right, any other comments on that? All right, the high school. We're moving into, right now, you see it fenced in. What they're working on right now is to get the permits to do the dry-in of the building, which is starting the abatement. One of the things we want to do in the high school is we want to do the abatement first, which is removing all of the contaminated materials. A lot of it has been removed. There's still a lot in there. So they want to get all of that out of the high school. Once we do that, we'll go back in with the structural engineers, the architects, and all that, and figure out, okay, now that we've got all the really bad stuff out, what can we save, what can be rebuilt back in, and then what do we need to do to safe up the high school and build a new civic center inside that building. So that's what they're working on right now, is pulling those permits. You see the temporary fences up. We're going to put banners around the temporary fence. Once the windscreen goes up, there'll be banners on that. The temporary utilities have been set up. We had some artwork that was going to be inside the fence. That's been relocated. So we've tried to make it a very safe location. Parking is a critical issue. We've already moved some employees. We're going to be moving some others. We're coming up with some parking plans to make sure that the public has enough parking. So we're working on that right now. We tried to keep the fence as close to the building as we could while still keeping it safe. So I think that's what we did. And again, they're working on the roof demolition permit also with staff right now to go ahead and do the roof demo. So any questions on that?
Yeah, Colin, I actually went in there with a hazmat suit. I think with Jeff Livergood, we walked around in there. Structurally, you talk, after you move the bad stuff out, you're going to bring the structural. I know we earmarked a certain amount of money to do that. Is there going to be any, for lack of a better word, surprises or things that, we're not looking down the road at?
That's a great question. Straticon was very conservative with their numbers. So they actually, I think, in their numbers right, that we're using right now in the financial plan is the worst case. We're hoping that once we do the abatement, it's actually better than that. So we're actually hoping that it goes the other way, not there's more surprises. They pretty much they gave a number that said we're going to demo the whole thing except the outside walls. But now that we're looking at it, we think the trusses in the gym can be saved. There's some timbers that can be saved. There's definitely some stuff on the first floor that might be able to. So there's some things that I think they're finding that is a little bit better than they thought. The problem right now is you can't go in there without the hazmat suit. So we really want to get it cleaned out so we can go in there and the architects and the engineers can take a really good look at it without all the stuff in their way.
All right, so the money we have earmarked is for worst case scenario?
We believe it's worst case right now. Now, could there be a surprise? In construction, there can always be surprises. My belief is that it's not going to be more than that. So I think we did take worst case. So real quick, I wanted to just show this real quick. These are the floor plans that we've come up with inside the high school. Basically, we're staying very close to the original design of where the classrooms were and all that, but turning them into multi-purpose program rooms. So a lot of these rooms will have dividers that will open up so you can use them as 2 rooms or 1 rooms. This is the first floor. And so this is the first floor. So these are the 2 entrances out front, and we're looking at coming in and you'll have a common hallway with some program rooms in the front. Some office space on this side. We're still looking at whether or not we can put some retail in there. I think it's a good idea. We don't know if we can or not yet. Some of that has to do with the way the financing does and things like that. But if we can, this is a perfect location for a little, smoothie bar or something like that to go with all these programs. This is all programming rooms, art rooms, all the stuff we're doing right now in the Art Center and the Civic Center. A lot of this is dance here. There's some office space. And then in the back, we're putting in a warming kitchen so there can be catered events and things in the gymnasium. So we'll put a warming kitchen, some other things back in here. So the programming for this, between the library group, recreation and parks, and the city, we've been working together to really program this space. We believe this first floor will be used 7 days a week. It'll be used all the time. We're looking at ways we can open up this room on this side into the park area. So maybe we can have an indoor-outdoor space for weekends where we can have other events.
Give me some names or organizations that would be using this 7 days a week.
Would you like
What type of agencies are?
Go ahead, Mark. I'm going to let you answer after you talk.
Well, we had a group come in that's an event planning group, and maybe more so for the upper floors for any kind of wedding receptions, retirement parties. A lot of interest from the hotel component, so that you're not building additional space at the hotel. You would come over here for any events, but you could have dance recitals, bands, anything that it has a civic function could come into this building. The question is going to be coordinating that, and then do you have a full-time event planner, which we have talked with some about their interest in doing that.
So it's not a scenario where we build and they will come?
No, we've had a lot of interest. The event planners that we've talked to more than one. Mark has one on his team, and then we've talked to some others. They all say there's nothing like this anywhere in South Palm Beach County, and they're looking for a place like this to put their events in. So we think on the weekends, if we build it right, that it'll be rented a lot. During the week, of course, it's city programming, and city program from Recreation and Parks will fill this building up during the week. That we've gone through the programming, and it's full right now. So we think that's good. I think that, and the rooms are designed to be multi-purpose rooms. So they might be adult dance classes, they could be kids dance classes, they can be karate and then dance. They can be the rooms can be used for different things. It's just like the second floor is the same way. Now we think actually the second floor is probably even more useful with the gymnasium. I mean, that's going to be turned into an area that's going to seat somewhere, and I'm going to give you an average, we don't know exactly, 500 people for a concert. There's no place in South Palm Beach County you can go for 500 people for a concert. A nice event place with nice acousticals and all that for a good concert. We're setting it up for weddings, so there's going to be, we'll have the warming kitchen downstairs so they can cater meals. Setting it up for events, the hotel again for convention events, for smaller events, for a company that has 100 employees or 200 employees and wants a place to come, and we can set up tables for probably 250 people, eat tables and things. We've set up this, again, more programming space in the front of the gym. Again, this can be opened up and turned into dance areas. So we're trying to think about all the different people that would come in and use this. And the event planners that I've talked to, and I've talked to 3 different companies, the one Mark has and 2 others, and they all say they're ready to sign up right now. Now, they all want to also come in and run it because they think they'll get a discount. We're saying, no, nobody gets discounts. You come in and rent it at full price. But we do think it'll be used a lot. The gym, if we do this right, is going to be probably one of the best facilities in Palm Beach County to do those size events in.
You keep saying if we do it right. I'm going on the assumption we are going to be doing it
We're going to do it
right.
right. We have a great team right now. Straticon has done these old buildings. They've done a lot of them in Palm Beach County. And I guess I wish
Jeff's
they were
here.
here. Jeff's here. Oh, you're here. Okay, well, I'm bragging for Jeff, and he just walked in. So I'll let Jeff talk. But Jeff's done a lot of these, and I truly believe we have the right team to design this so it'll be very functional. You know, I've challenged the team is we want to design something that is a 7-day-a-week building, so it'll be used. Because that's really why we're going to put the money into it, so it'll be used.
Colin, orient me to what I'm seeing here. Where's Boynton Beach? Where's Seacrest? Where's...
Okay.
Show
This
me.
is Seacrest right out here. This is the second floor.
Right.
So Seacrest is here, and this is Ocean.
Okay.
So this is going east, going that way. So you're looking east, this is looking toward Ocean. So this is the front of the building right now. And the gym is on the back right here. So we'll have this large gym with a large stage. There'll be some areas over here so you can get food up and down from we're still working on all those designs. This is very conceptual, still working on how you get food. There's be an elevator out front someplace here, some stairs, full restrooms, facilities. So when you have those big events, there's plenty of restroom facilities. So that's kind of the orientation. It's really taking the high school as it was built for a school and turning it into a civic center, using very similar layouts.
Right, so the green space that you're proposing and the amphitheater, that is right...
The amphitheater would be over here.
Okay.
Right. So this is going to be looking out onto this green space. I know you can't see my thing, but it's down here. You'll see, when I get to the site plan, I'll show you. But yeah, it's down in this area. And then this is what we call the active park.
Right.
So this is another big green space, and we're looking at a way, let me go back to the, we're looking at a way, if we can figure out how to do it, is open up these rooms into this, maybe a patio area here, so you can do an indoor-outdoor. So smaller weddings that don't want to use the gym can use this, or smaller events. Any kind of event, you have an outdoor patio area and an indoor area in here. So you have an indoor-outdoor area that fits into the building.
So on that side, I'm envisioning glass. Is that in the concept?
No, we're not. Now, the one thing about the historic building is we would keep the windows like they are.
Okay.
So, yeah, so inside the building, but some of those windows could be turned into French doors. That's what we're looking at. We're trying to convince the historic architects that we can do that. Now, that's our job, is to do that, to talk to them. If they say absolutely not, it'll ruin the historic character of the building, I don't think it will, so we'll see where that goes. But we'd really like to do that, because opening this building up to this park is really a good idea.
Well, that's why I'm suggesting. That's
Yeah.
why I envision that. I see, very glass, transparent, see-through. That way, the inside can communicate with the outside, and it's just very clear and visible.
And now I'm going to let
Talk.
Jeff answer construction-wise how to do that.
Go for it.
Yeah, we have these discussions now, and Rick Gonzalez, who's the architect on the project, has spent a lot of time using a term that is called adaptive reuse. And that's what's most important here to think about, is how do we take an old building that has got some vintage characteristics and things that community can identify with, and have it fit into this master plan where it's not just an archaic old historic building that we just made look better. It's functional. It creates uses for the community. And part of the suggestions you're talking about are discussed, and there are limitations with historical that we can't just go and re-facade or make it completely different than it was. But what our goal is to make it connect with the past and do everything we can to have it benefit the community, and also look at how the site has been redesigned. Now, if this is this active space now to the west, how can we interact with that, and accessibility, and how we all can benefit? So that we do discuss it. Sometimes Colin and I and Mark have to push Rick a little bit, because historical architects have a tendency to try and be as sensitive to the period as possible. But we do have the discussions because we know it needs a functionality for today's use.
Thank you.
My question is that we're calling ours Town Square. They already call theirs Old School Square. Okay, when they built, they renovated their auditorium, et cetera, like what you all are saying and stuff. Now it's at the point was they can't hardly find anybody to use it. I hope we're not getting excited to do something and then we can't find any takers. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Now, remember, though, programming-wise for the city has both first and second floor completely programmed during the week. So what we're talking about is the stuff after hours and all that, and being able to lease it. So We need the space regardless of whether or not it's leased because we have programs to put in that building. But what we want to do is make sure we build it so all of those other uses can go in too. Now, we can't guarantee that people will want to use it. We've talked to the public, we've talked to people that do this, and they say, yes, it will be used. I agree with you, Commissioner. Whether or not that's true, I think you have to figure it out. But regardless, we need the space for all of our programs because we're at the wall right now with space. So this does give us more space for all of the programs we're doing in the Art Center and the Civic Center right now.
Well, this may be a question for the architect or whomever, but if we're doing it built to suit in terms of trying to attract wedding planners and event planners, are we also consulting them in terms of getting their input and in terms of what they would want to see in this particular building?
Yes, on the team is an event planner. I mean, that's what they do for a living, and they plan events, and they're on the team helping us with that. And also, the architect has done a couple with events too, and they're putting their input in. So everybody has their input, but the event planner is probably our primary person who's going to say, yes, this works or this doesn't work. We had a lot of discussion over a warming kitchen and what that means. So we're listening to the event planner who says, if I'm going to rent this place, here's what I need. At the same time, though, Recreation and Parks have to look at it, too, so they have to use it for their programs. So they're looking at also making sure we design it for those programs, because it is a city building still for those programs. So it's a combination of both. As we develop more details, like Jeff said, we'll be able to show you more details as we develop it. We're like right at the beginning of figuring out how all this works and fits together.
Great.
So.
Have you all made, schematics where the elevators would be? So
Yeah, they're on here.
There's existing and then there's new.
Yeah, there's an existing and then there's some new, and Jeff, you're going to have to point that out here. Use the pointer. Because I can't read that, sorry.
Let me make sure, yeah, we're on the first floor. I'll use your pointer here. The concept now is to have them, you have a stairway here and another stairway opposite, and I believe the elevator was going to be adjacent to this stairway and not the other. So we'll have one means of accessibility up, elevator-wise, near both entry doors. So it was either this wing here or this wing here. I think it was on the west wing.
So we're only going to have 2 elevators.
I think right now we're planning one elevator in the front for the public, and we might be looking at a freight elevator or something in the back. It may not be a full elevator. It might be a dumbwaiter for the food to go up and down between the first floor and the second floor. Those are the things we're still working on right now, trying to figure out what's the best way to do it in that building. Because again, retrofitting an older building.
If you're going to have an event where you have 500 people, I'm sorry, you're going to need more than one elevator.
And we very well may, and that's the stuff we're going through right now to figure that out.
Yeah. No, we've had the considerations. We have meetings with event planners coming up next couple of weeks. We have an acoustical consultant talking about how the sound is going to resonate in a big, tall building that's built mostly out of concrete. We've talked a lot about the acoustics and low voltage and sound and how the stage is going to function. It's just a matter of considering all the different objectives, opinions, considering the fact we have a budget, and making the most use and sense of the dollars we have to do these things. But we have had several discussions and meetings are ongoing. The architect, REG, and their team and their structural engineers are working now full-time on the project, and our staff is also consistently pushing ahead to try and work out and vet out all these ideas.
And again, we hope to have those at the end of September, and you'll have a lot more details. But I wanted to show you kind of the concept.
Just real quickly, you mentioned a little earlier the hotel, and that they could possibly be using these multimedia rooms for like small conferences, meetings. So would that mean they could shrink their footprint of the hotel over there?
Yeah, there's obviously different models for hotels. I don't see a conference hotel going on that corner from the size of the lot. So the concept is let this be the conferencing center and let the hotel be purely the hotel, even to the point of the warming kitchen, because you don't want them competing with each other.
I like that word, conferencing center.
Right.
Yeah, that's a better word. All right, so moving on. So, police department. High Ridge, it's on the High Ridge site, so I'm going to let Robert talk a little bit about that site plan. You got? Okay.
Is this working? Okay, yes, good evening. We have made quite a bit of progress with the site plan. Can I borrow the pointer? Thank you. for the new police headquarters on the High Ridge site. What you see here is the version that we are working on right now after a number of meetings with the police department. Let me kind of describe what you're looking at. First off, what you see here is a combination of a one-story and two-story facility. The program square footage is around 54,000 square feet. The one-story on this side consists of a community room that'll be multi-purpose, both can be used by the police department but also be used by the community or the city. Approximately, I believe, about 250-person community room. The number 2 here would be the public entrance to that area with a shared parking with the fire station next door. It's some underutilized parking. We would be adding to that, but the public parking side would be over here. The secured officer parking would be here. Around the site would be a concrete security wall to protect the officers, with the officer entrance denoted as number 6 here on the site plan. I'm not sure if you can see that. But the thought process is to have a clear delineation between the public and the police department with some shared space. On the what would be the east side, item 9 here is a structure that would accommodate some vehicle parking and overflow area for staff parking or for future build-out opportunities. The flow of traffic would be in here through for the officers in here off of High Ridge. Through here, there's a sally port here for drop-off and an exit onto High Ridge property. So that's the concept site plan for the police department where we're at right now.
Let me ask a question. I know we have a lot of storage spaces around the town, around the city, where we got different things stored. Is there any storage area where we can get rid of some of the buildings that we own and we can use them for something else?
At this point, the storage that we have here in the facility is for the police, the current program.
So I can answer your question. The answer is yes. That's what Building 9 is, so we can get rid of some of those exterior buildings, except for the range. The firing range right now stays, but the other storage areas, the idea is to move them into this site. So those.
I mean, Colin, like what we have, like evidence room, but you got it vehicle. Why you call it vehicle then? Vehicle storage building.
That's for all of their specialty vehicles. Their ATVs, the chief is here. He could probably tell better what those vehicles are, but they have a SWAT vehicle that goes inside. They have some kind of large, I don't even know what it is, Humvee? It's a Humvee.
Right, yeah, but
it's
anyway,
those vehicles.
I understand, but why Chief is here, Collins, the only way I'm going to go for this project is that I need to know what I'm voting on, okay? I need to know, is there going to be a place and all of this that we're doing where we could store some of the things from where we got them all scattered around on this site?
Yes, Building 9 is to store all of those things we have scattered all over the place.
Plus
Okay,
built
yes.
into the
Word.
footprint.
Colin, a quick question. A few years back, we did a study for a new police station. I think we had some plans drawn up. I think we paid almost like $100,000. Is any of that going to be incorporated into this?
Yeah, those were used as the base to develop the space planning
so we
and all
use
that.
that, okay.
So it's the same architect that's working on it now. So yes, so all of that base information has been incorporated into this plan. We did change the building footprint a little bit because that building footprint really, actually, I think we just basically turned the building 90
How many square
degrees.
feet were that?
That was much bigger. That was about 74,000 square feet. We've cut it back to 54, but the chief, we've been meeting, and I think they're very satisfied with the square footage.
Okay, why do we need another conference room when Station 5 right across the little roundabout there has a nice conference room? Why do we need 2 conference rooms?
I really like the chief to answer the Robert.
Well, I mean, this isn't a conference room, and maybe I mispronounced it. This is more of a community auditorium that can be used multifunctional for both the police department and for city events or things of that nature. Still a line of security
But
between
we're building
the
a
two.
civic center for that, for community events.
Well, I mean, in our discussions, we talked about the
High Ridge is out of the way. People are not going to go up there for community events.
I think the goal in these types of facilities is the interaction between the police department and the community, and having a room that allows or fosters that type of communication, and not just having a having an opportunity for the public and police to
So
meet.
you think the public would go to the police station so they can interact with the police officers? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that the room, which in some cases could be used only for police, and some facilities is only used for the police, has a multifunctional purpose so that civic events or civic speeches, press
So to
conferences
give
could
a face
have.
to what you're saying, potentially like every quarter when we have our quarterly award ceremony, for example, we've been doing them at the Village Royale on the Green, so we would potentially use this facility for that now instead? Is that what we're trying to say?
That could be a use for this room, correct. Additionally, I failed to point out in the program is this plaza area, which could be breakout for that and an opportunity for public art and really kind
This is
of
a
nice
police
space.
station, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, although it is required to have public art.
Well, let me ask you this.
Would
So this
Chief
is kind to try to make this a different than the current police station that we have now, where there's just that small lobby behind the glass. We're trying to make this more friendly to our community so that they're not afraid to go to the police, that the residents aren't afraid of the police, that there's involvement with the police. I know that they have a lot of programs with our middle school now, the Boys in Blue Progress. This is a room that they can do after school. So, a lot of things that, my thought process is that, some people who leave the community high school don't have a place to go after school. They may be able to use this room as a safe place.
Right.
Yeah, that is the plan. I mean, and we toured
Colin,
a
how would they
couple of-
get there? Up the High Ridge?
You can walk.
Well, people in the neighborhood can walk, but you can, I mean, it's not a hard site to get to.
It's not really a neighborhood-oriented area.
It's not. It's not. It is more for people would be attracted to it. We did tour several police stations, and the newer, more modern police stations are doing these community rooms. And the reason is, and I hate speaking for the chief, but I'll do
Where
it
is
for
he? Can
I'll
he
do it for
come
a
up
second.
and
He's
speak?
here.
Thank
Colin,
you.
I would suggest, this is so far out of the community, it's not approachable.
So-
That's my point on this thing.
Yeah, I think being right off a Gateway in 95, I think actually it's fairly easy to get to. It's not as bad as it could be. The question always is how much are you going to use the room? So
If you've driven down Minor Road recently, when you've seen cars all over at the gun range, including the school district and so forth, we partner at least monthly, I think, with other law enforcement agencies as well as the school district to provide training at group levels for more of a regional impact. We do it often. This will also provide us, being the location that it's in, a wonderful opportunity to be able to do exactly that, and hopefully even and grow out to where we have FBI and some other, other agencies coming in. But we do a lot of partnering, and they need space.
We have done that. Just to touch on that, we are hosting this year 12 outside regional classes alone for other law enforcement agencies to come to the Boynton Beach Police Department and learn more about professional policing. So we are hosting classes with other organizations. We also do, as you know, we do quarterly town hall meetings. We do quarterly award ceremonies. We do the Citizens Police Academy, Teen Police Academies. We do more community outreach now than we have in the 20 years that I've been here, and we're going to continue to do more. It's one thing to be able to say the police department would like to meet with you. It's another thing to invite the community to come to their police department, and that's important. The state-of-the-art police departments, the newer police departments, all have opportunities for members of the public to come to the police department. This is a non-secured area. The police department itself is designed a great deal with security in mind. But that area gives us an opportunity when we have press conferences, when we have public meetings. The meeting space in the fire department is nice, but its capacity is probably 30 or 40 people. When we go to our town hall meetings, we have 100 to 150 people per meeting. So, we'll be able to accommodate that. We still plan on moving it around now and again, but we would like to have the public come to their police department. I think that's important.
and I'll just talk from an engineer design.
Start talking, stop. Okay, you told us that you went from 74,000 square feet down to 54,000. Okay, what is the life expectancy of what we're doing here? I'm just saying, I know y'all stayed over there 20 years cramped. I'm just saying, I'm not going to be here when it build on, but I'm just saying, What is the life expectancy of this building?
God willing, we'll both be here for the length of this building. I think this is going to be, what, a 50-year building?
Right.
And the way that it's designed so that when we do add space to the building, we'll add space to evidence storage. It's on an exterior wall, and that's where we anticipate the growth, the need to continue to store evidence.
So that in mind, you are adding a space to do evidence where we can add on to. This is what I need.
Yes, sir. In the future,
Okay,
as time
okay.
goes on, we'll be able to add to it as we need to.
That's denoted as number 4 on the...
Right. Yeah, that's that number 4 space. That would be the additional space. And again, it's one of the reasons it went down too, and probably getting too much detail, but that room that we're talking about is also, we took a lot of the training space that would be within the secure part of the police department and moved it into that room. So that's it's a way to actually cut the number of the square footage we need to build, but give them more capabilities in the building. So it really is a win-win from a cost standpoint to build these multi-purpose rooms.
Thank you, Chief. I think you speak a lot better for yourself.
Yeah, I didn't want to speak for him. I was just trying to get him up here.
Just my final comment on that, my idea of the policing, community policing is to get out there in the community, not for the community to come to the police station. I think we got that a little reversed there. So those amenities, so people who come to the police station feel safer and more welcomed, I think it's, falls on my deaf ears.
And my final comment is that I'm glad that we are doing something for the police department, because during my tenure here as a commissioner, when we bought the High Ridge property, that was stated that we was going to put the police department out there, and I'm glad to see that it's coming to fruition. If I vote for nothing else, I'm voting for the police station, okay? Thank you.
All right, any other questions on this? All right. So now we're going to go to the town square, which is this area we're sitting in now, the 16.5 acres. And I'm going to let Mark kind of go over this. So what we did, and I'm going to introduce it real quick, is we've gone through about 9 different site plans laying it out. And what we tried to do is we needed to answer some questions because there's some issues. So our original plan, we were going to try to save the 2-story part of the library, which is this part right here. But there are some issues with that. One is the current location basically blocks Southeast First. So what it did by keeping this part of the building is it forces traffic onto Southeast Second, which is a residential street. And so that's something we feel very strongly is we don't want to put heavy traffic on residential streets. We want to keep them more with the residential feel. So looking at that, we tried to figure out a way, how do we do that? How do we reopen First so you can go to Seacrest? So when you're coming into Town Square, you're not coming down Second. You're going to come down other streets that are within this mixed-use area. So another issue we had is logistics and safety around trying to keep this portion of the library open while we're building on the south side, and we're building on the north side, and we're building on the east side, was virtually impossible to keep this part of the building open. So that made it tough. We also, this section of building it's not that old, but there are some issues with it that we need to address. There's some leaking issues, and y'all are well aware of some of these. We've brought them to you before. And the last one is to try to save this building, all of the utility services for this can actually come through the 1-story section. So this whole building, so we'd have to rebuild all of that. So when we started looking at the cost to retrofit this existing building, it started to make sense to look in a different direction and look for a different solution, which is what we did. So the current conceptual plan, what we're looking at is I know it sounds bad, but looking at...
Excuse me, when was the final completion of this library? What year?
2008, I think. 2008.
And we're 2017. Now
yes, it's 10 years old, yes. It's a newer part of the building. We understand that. That is something we always look at.
Go ahead.
But the plan you're going to see tonight really looks at taking out the entire library buildings so we can rebuild a combined structure that serves the library and City Hall functions in a way where we can better utilize the whole site. Because that's important. This is a 60, 70-year plan. So we want to make sure what we do is going to work for 70 years. One of the things we want to do is we want to protect that Southeast Second. So we're looking at how do we make that whole south block residential, so you have residential facing residential, and then the higher density city residential is facing the commercial. How do we keep a parking garage off a second and move it inward to the site a little bit? So we think we've addressed that. One of the things we really want to do is do a larger green area. We really do think that that's the beauty of this project. We're creating this square, this green square, and we want to make that as large as possible. And we also want to make sure we design a city hall and a library that's a 21st century building, that it's set up for the next 70 to 80 years, 70 years to serve the public as they're going to need to be served going into the future. Not the way we served them in the past, because it is changing. Y'all are well aware of that. The way we serve the public is changing with technology and other things that are coming along. So we wanted to make sure we designed a building that was very efficient for that, and also had a comfort level for employees. So when employees come to work, they're going to work efficiently and effectively for the citizens. So with that, I'm going to show you what we've come up with, and we've come up with this conceptual site plan that I'm going to let Mark walk through.
Thank you, Carl. This plan was the original layout on the northern end of town that we submitted back in the proposal. And since that time, the southern end has changed radically, and I'll explain some of that as we go through this. But just to orient, this is Seacrest, Boynton here. We started off with the hotel, as we mentioned here, programming that so that as you're coming up Boynton off of 95, you're seeing a magnificent addition to the current area where your City Hall is. The backside of this, working with John Markey and his team, is proposed as apartment complexes. And the same with this. This is a parking garage that would allow this road to remain open. So we're very focused on keeping the circulation around the site, both for pedestrians and for vehicles. Then we're opening up these green spaces so that when you're coming down Boynton, or if you're coming down Seacrest, you're going to come in and see this very large sweeping area of green space that now opens up into the park. And that was a key focus for us, is we want to create something that's special for the citizens. We want to create something special for the staff that is going to reside here. The high school, as we mentioned, we know that's the key to and heart and soul of this project, along with the Children's Museum, both in preservation and also the historical aspect of the project. Staying up on this northern end, this is a proposed site for the central energy plant, and I don't know if all are aware, but with LEED and with energy sustainability, reducing carbon footprints, et cetera, and I know Colin will talk more about this, we're proposing that this provide all the central utilities as far as the chill water for the buildings, both on the public and the private. And I know you'll hear more about that here as we go through the meeting. Before I cross over Ocean Boulevard, this is the new fire station. It's a 2-story, 3-bay station to replace the one that's currently here on this corner, so it stays in the district. It also serves easily getting up and down First, as well as getting back out on Boynton Boulevard. And then lastly, many of you know Michael Weiner, the current post office here with his office building. We are still working with him, trying to blend that into the overall project, because I think it's really important as you're coming into this area that this corner can be brought up to a new state of art as you're entering the town square. So the big changes. At one time, we were looking at putting an assisted living facility over here. After meeting with Andrew Mack and some of his staff, we realized that from a zoning standpoint, a use standpoint, probably wasn't the best idea for Town Square. So after some long discussions, we've now made this all apartments that flank the current residential, particularly along Second. And of course, on the back, you saw some of the architectural style. We think it'll really contribute well to the town square concept. And then this would be a parking garage that serves, first and most importantly, the city. Your library, as well as your city hall, so that there's a connector link here. There will be some parking, and we'll get into details here for people that are just coming in for a quick drop-off of a payment or some meeting that they have to come in for on a short notice, as well as parking in this area and this area. These are rec spaces that will be housing part of the service for the apartment complex, as well as a frontage of apartments here. Again, the key is opening up this green space. This is probably 2.5 times what you currently have, as well as adding this in for what is currently the Children's Kingdom Playground that resides here. We're proposing to not only put the playground here, but extend that into this area. So I know there's been some concern, and I don't know if Michael Fitzpatrick's in the audience here, but we've talked a couple of times about how to work together and make sure that we preserve what we can with the current playground and then expand that into something that's really attractive for the citizens. I'll stop there. Any questions I could answer?
Yeah, the parking garage for the employees, will there be a gate or something, and will they have a pass or something to get in? You know?
Yes, we have a meeting tomorrow, Commissioner McRae, and it's involving 2 different firms. One is a parking garage consulting group, the largest in the nation. We've had them in here once before. We're going to do a full parking study to determine not only just what the staff needs, but when you have an event, you know, how do you park 5,000 people? Well, obviously we're not building garages to accommodate 5,000 people. We are hoping to have close to 1,200 covered parking spaces in this town square area. Right now, I think you're at about 425, somewhere in that area. So we're going to do a parking study, not only what you need for the public spaces, which would include the library, obviously the Children's Museum, City Hall, and the library component here, but we're also proposing to put some retail space in that parking garage that would be city-owned, city-leased. So it's an opportunity to activate First Street, which was another reason for our suggesting of allowing this to become another central point to keep traffic off the street here. And that, again, was recommendation from your zoning and planning commissions.
You know, I'm not trying to throw a boomerang in this project, but when it comes to retail space for downtown, we have retail space we can't even give away almost. And I'm just saying, you know, hopefully this will not be a problem.
It does not have to be programmed in, but I will tell you, and I'm not, you know, near as expert on this as Tim Baker and Wayne, but they were the ones, after looking at this and thinking through the entire area here, you've got a lot of people and a lot of activity that's going to activate these streets, and having, you know, maybe a retail space in here and one here, where we also were asked to include restrooms for the park. You know, if you're going to have, you know, big events, which I know you have the Pirate Fest coming up, you need a place for people to conveniently get in and out of restrooms. So that was the other thought, is activate this and put some retail with the restrooms.
Mark, let me ask you this. I live west, if I lived west of Military, this is our downtown, right? This is town square, downtown. Why am I coming here?
Well, first and foremost is going to be the events that the city would host inside of the activity. But
we have 2 major events. We have Pirate Fest and we have the Barney Blash. Those are the only 2 that I know that we actually draw people from the outside in. So tell me why, if I'm living on the west side of Boynton, why am I coming down here?
Well, when we first came into the project, the concept was to activate Ocean Boulevard all the way to the Intercoastal. So while you're talking about activating this, I call it the bookends. You have a beautiful space down here with your marinas. I go down there every time I'm here, have lunch or go out on a boat. But people don't tend to come back up here to attend anything. You have a lot of activity right now with the library. You're going to have a lot of activity with your programs that are coming in here.
Mark, people come to the library, it's not an event to come to the library, okay?
Right.
I had visions of tree-lined streets with restaurants, little unique shops, people walking the sidewalk. I don't see any of that up here. What I see is apartments and parking garages. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, if you look at your CRA plan from Ocean, what he's talking about is you activate Ocean from Seacrest south. When you get to this road, from there to Federal is exactly what you're talking about. That's what we've planned. That's what's planned from there to Federal. When you come, the problem you have is you got to put the government building someplace. But the government buildings can activate. And you ask, we only have 2 events now. cities that do this well, and I believe we can do this well because I think we're better positioned than anybody, cities that do this well have events weekly in their downtown parks. It's not necessarily run by the city or sponsored by the city. There's other people that come in. There's concerts, there's plays, there's other things that happen in these kind of event centers. If you create it, nobody else has this. You know, if you go to Atlantic, they don't have this kind of setup. They have shops that you can go, but you're going to a site specific. Here, you're going to have shops, you're going to have restaurants that you can walk to, but you're also going to have the events that draw people. Right now, we have two.
Show me where the shops and restaurants. I'm not seeing it on that plan.
Right here. So what starts is this is where Ocean starts. So you're right here, going this way for 4 blocks. There'll be shops and restaurants.
I see a lot of white space up there.
Well, it's because that's not owned by the city. This is all private development, but that's what the CRA plan is encouraging, starting to build this. There we go. Building this development.
So that's encouragement. We're going to be looking for encouragement there.
That's the purpose of the project.
Colin, that City Hall there, that wasn't like the last one we went over and we had our meeting with the city manager. We had the library separate at that one, right? That's the one.
That was the two concepts of go.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we put the monstrous building of concrete right back there.
Yeah, and we had a plan where we had a city hall here and a library here.
Yeah.
The problem was it made this space very small.
Yeah.
So to open this up, this plan goes with one building to open this back up and still keep this through street here. So we are going to get into, again, we don't have floor plans yet or any of that, but we do have building footprints per floor to go through real quick, because I think that'll answer some of the questions why.
That's a lot like the first plan that came out.
No, the first plan was very linear. Whoops. The first plan was very linear, and the problem with that is, again, it blocked off the street. It also put all of this stuff right on Second, so you're exiting right onto Second. This plan is a little bit different. The challenge with the first plan we had that Mark proposed was the first plan was, again, it put all that traffic onto Second. It also strung that library out over 2 blocks. I mean, it strung the building out over 2 blocks. So you're doing a lot of walking in the building. So by going compact, and we went a little bit higher, you know, before we were proposing 2 stories, now we're at 4 stories. So we did go a little bit higher, not the whole building, not all the way out to Seacrest, but part of the building going up to 4 stories. This area, everybody asks, is where's the shops? Well, the problem is you're not going to tear that down. You're not going to tear that down. You've got to have City Hall somewhere in here. You've got a green space. We want green space because we want the amphitheater. We want all that. So we're kind of running out of room on this place. So the idea is you do your events here in this area, and then you do all your restaurants
We keep
there.
talking about events. I've been with the city. I know a couple of the events that are very successful. All these events we're talking about filling up all this green space with, I don't see it.
I just want to make the comment that one of the things that we do for the past few years is have something called food truck invasion.
Right.
So whenever there is an event, or every night, we can have food trucks here. And is there parking available for the food trucks in this location?
Yes.
And so if you can point them out, because I think that's kind of what Commissioner Casella is asking, is that what are people going to be doing here along with all the city functions when we do have an event? We're going to be able to have the temporary food locations. We're not going to have the retail because, like Commissioner McCray said, we still have vacant retail as it is throughout the other places in the city. So this is actually making things better, because when we want to have food and restaurants there, we can, and when we don't want to have it there, we don't have to have them.
So
That's correct. What we've done is we've created an active zone in this area here, which activates it for food trucks. And you could even have farmers markets and things like that can be active along this roadside here. And so that is what that center, the core is of the master plan.
Yeah, so the idea is to be able to close off that for those events, and then you would do it along the street, like we do now, but make it a little easier to do.
So we're actually going to block off Ocean Avenue for these events?
Just like we do now.
And so I remember when Atlantic Avenue used to get blocked off. They can't do that anymore, really.
Right. They don't have those events either. So they do for 4th of July, but that's it.
I would suggest to you, Mayor, that one of the concepts we had, if you do block this off, that's why we're trying to keep these streets active, so that you can circulate around this space. You can still get in here and park, come to the event, and then get back out as you come in.
Oh, that's amazing. so that we're really going to have a pedestrian-friendly, or more pedestrian-friendly.
Very much so. We have been asked by the city to make sure that this entire area can be secured so that during a big event where you don't want any vehicles coming in there unless it's an emergency type vehicle, that we can lock it down and have it set up just for that event.
And I think that we've realized is that we need to make sure that cars cannot come in on pedestrians.
Correct.
I have a few questions. So on Northeast First Ave, you're saying that this is a through street with this parking garage that's going to be built in there?
That's correct. It'll have a raised first floor so that even trucks, say if they had to go in there and do any kind of pickup of debris, et cetera, they'll be able to come all the way through that garage and get back out on.
Fire trucks as well can go through here?
I have to look, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get the fire truck through there too. It's proposed, I believe it's 14-foot clear height, so I'll have to check on the height restrictions, but yes.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, and then on the, what is this, Southeast First, so for example, if someone's coming to a city commission meeting, they would have to go up Southeast First, go into the parking garage, walk across the pedestrian connector, then get into the building?
Well, there's a couple ways. If you're doing a drop-off, obviously you want to come right in to
They're
Ocean.
not dropping off.
Yes, if you're parking, this is going to be the preferred parking space. Is going to be to come in. We can lock down certain areas for that type of parking. And I would dare say, because I've come to quite a few meetings here at the City Hall, I've parked over here and had to walk back, oftentimes park at the library. I think you're going to find that that's a very short distance to get to.
And Mark, don't we have a lot of on-street parking all along Ocean?
You have on-street
and
here.
City Hall as well?
You'll have on-street here,
All down through there.
assuming there's no food trucks.
Are we going to be able to do it on Seacrest too, we were talking about?
We're going to be meeting with the county for
Okay, so
Seacrest. We're not really exactly sure what we're going to do there, but we could
Allow
put some
it or not?
on-street parking there. I think what Mark was, I think it does look like it's a long ways here. It's actually from that parking garage to the
Use your
chambers.
pointer, Colin, please.
Oh,
I don't know what
here.
your pointer-
I'm sorry. From here, from this parking garage where you enter to this chamber is actually less distance from when you're right here going over when you happen to park over here or over here. So it's about the same. Now, again, you're absolutely right. Parking is the biggest challenge we have.
And it's covered?
This is a parking garage.
No, what I'm saying is coming from the
This
parking
we're
garage.
looking at a covered walkway. So if it's raining, you come in here and you walk, and we'll show you that in a second in the floor plan. So we'll show you once you enter. But yes, you would come here and it's right there. You just do that crossing right there and then you're in the building.
So those 12 parking spaces in 8G, this is allocated
That
for?
would be for transient employees during the day, and then the officials that need to park close to the chambers in the evening. So this would be really for, right now, the proposal is it would be for employees only, employees and staff. That can change. Again, this stuff is all, we're waiting for your comments, because we can make changes with your comments. So I don't want to say we not appreciate your comments, because these are
Well,
good.
not to sound selfish, but if parking is going to be such a premium, then I think 8G should have some reserved parking for commission and.
Well, for a
safe
from a safety standpoint, this would be secured parking for commissioners during commission meetings, because that's a safety issue. That's not just out of convenience. That's a safety issue in today's world. Safety and security is going to be one of the primary things we're designing around on the site. I don't want to go further than that to talk about what we're doing, but that is one of the primary concerns.
Well, right now, I hope when y'all get to the floor plans that you all can show me something better, because right now, I'm not buying this.
Okay, that's fine.
Colin, the 7-story, 834-space garage, I think it's 8A.
This one?
Yes.
Yeah.
You said that first, it's going to be, so it's going to have like a tunnel? It's going to be like a tunnel going from, to be able to drive through it?
Yeah, I think you can describe it as a tunnel, although it's wide, because you'll have parking spaces. You'll have parking spaces on that bottom floor over in this area.
We're going to have a tunnel.
But it'll be sort of like a tunnel. Not a closed-in underground tunnel, though. More of an above-ground open tunnel.
Okay, I have another question. I see a lot of apartments, residential apartments. Where are the townhomes? Where are the single families? Where anywhere in here is that proposed?
This is all multifamily. John's here, you can talk about it. I'm not sure it's been decided what product exactly is going to be built. We're looking for space right now. Right now, these are going to be residential units, whether they're townhomes, condos, apartments. I don't know if John's decided that. I'm looking at him to say yes or no. He doesn't have a microphone, but he'll come up.
I know apartments are the thing right now, but I'd like to see some ownership in here as well.
At this time, we really haven't decided on ownership. Everything is designed at this point to be apartments, and all those things on the south are designed to be 3 stories fronting the residential. So really what we're doing here is, it's a type of new urbanism where we've got a concentrated center, which is high density, and then you ask about single family. Well, the single family neighborhoods are all around this. Okay. So we can't separate ourselves from the community. What we're trying to do is a new urban core here. And that comes with the kinds of things that are density and that are parking that we're trying to solve with, these solutions. So a lot of things are left over from the original presentation with these buildings. We're working on these buildings every day, and they're changing. They're actually changing from what you see here. Commissioner Casello asked a very good question about how do you energize Ocean? Where are the shops? Where are the restaurants? As I look at Building 6, which is the apartment building that faces Ocean, I think that the building in and of itself as a donut is just wrong. It crowds the Children's Museum and the park too much. We need to reconfigure that. And I think what needs to happen is what fronts Ocean needs to become retail and restaurant. We need energizing of Ocean Avenue. We need eyes on the street. We need a reason to come there. Very, very good question, Commissioner. So I'm sitting there in the audience saying to myself, well, I got to get up there and tell them about how this is evolving as we speak. If you have any other questions about the residential, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, while you're here, for the residential apartments you're proposing for buildings, because I see 2 building 6s, what are those proposed to be in height?
They're proposed to be 8 stories.
8 stories, and the one for, you said for 7, about 3 stories?
The building 7, which you see there's 2 number 7s, and that's really all the same building that wraps that garage. Yes. They're 3 stories, and they're designed so that they buffer that garage from the neighborhood to the south.
Let me ask another question. Do y'all have a plan that shows us what is going to be on Ocean? I'm just saying, with what you just said, is that anything going to be presented tonight? Because, like I'm saying, I'm not buying
We're still working on those, and this is an update. So this thing, and John's absolutely right, this plan is evolving every day, changing a little bit. We're trying to get the basic concept nailed down, so then we can start doing those. To show you what goes along Ocean, those are coming. And we can show you, what John said is he's changing his buildings already, so that'll change that a little bit. What I can tell you is the high school and the Schoolhouse Museum stays where it is. So those are on Ocean. Those will be, the Schoolhouse Museum is going to look like it looks now, and then, of course, the high school is going to be repurposed into that Civic Center with the historic, keeping the historic building. So those 2 are set. City Hall is what we're here to talk to you about tonight. We tried to show you some of the architectural styles that I think the public like. We want your input on those. So that'll be kind of, if we go with that style, that'll be what that, if you remember that picture, that rendering, that's more like what that, it's a perfect rendering because it does show a little bit like what the City Hall would look like. But as you go further east, that's what it's got to be. That's private development, and that's what we're working with. And then fortunate in this project, that's why it's a public-private partnership. We're bringing in the private developer to work with us, so they're meeting the city's needs with their private development. So what John's telling you is every day we're changing this based on the need and based on what we're hearing. So we're hearing good things tonight. Those will change the plans. So to answer your question, Commissioner, I wish I could give you exact details. That's coming. We have another couple of months to be working on this. This is kind of our first shot at showing you where the direction it's going in.
All right. Well, you heard what I've said. I'm just saying, when will I could expect something to come back for me so I can look and say, this is what I'm agreeing upon now. I'm just saying, when will I see another rendering, as you all like to call them? I'm just saying, but what you said about what you're doing on Ocean, I'm just saying, because you're not selling this project to me right now. I'm sorry.
Well, we're scheduled for beginning of, end of September to start receiving some of those. So that's the time frame when we're getting a lot more locked down. We need your input tonight so we can start It's a phased process. We have to lock things down. If somebody says, if you as a board say, we do not want that, then we need to go in a different direction. That's why we're doing this, so we can get exactly what you're telling us, and you're absolutely right. I wish I could tell you this is exactly what it's going to be. I need your input, so then we can go back and say, okay, based on your input, this is what it's going to look like. So that's what tonight's for.
Yeah, Commissioner, if I could add to that, design is a process, and we're very much in the middle of the process, and the way that has to work is we get input in the middle of the process, so we can, go down the right road and change things as we get that input. More specifically to that Building 6, I literally just sketched up that restaurant idea this morning. So that's how fast things are changing, and that's why we need your input at this point when it seems like it is incomplete, but that's part of the design process.
Well, my take is I want foot traffic on Ocean Avenue, okay?
I agree.
Thank you.
I think everybody likes that. All right. So any more questions on this site plan real quick? And then I'm going to go into, go ahead.
So this, that little alcove right there, existing Park Lane condo, so has there been discussions on the private side or the public side?
Where? 6.
East, that white space right there.
That's what, that's what John was just talking about.
No, other side.
Existing condos.
The condos.
Oh, this.
Have there been discussions to acquire that property to finalize this entire parcel? Is that private? We're not discussing it in public. What?
The city has not done any has not had any conversations.
And the private side?
There have been some
have
preliminary
Seems very
construction.
hush-hush right now, so maybe I'm asking the wrong question.
I have approached them
Okay.
about their interest, and John and I have talked about how we could possibly work with them to make them part of this overall
Yeah.
planning. Timing is going to be the challenge, I think, is we're going through reviews and approval. So we would definitely, there's a couple concepts. One is that would make a great addition to the park. It would also would open up a whole different vestibule of activity, because now you are completely opened up on Ocean Boulevard. We just don't think we can get it in this first round.
Okay.
Colin, you've said it a few times that we're going to do this right, we're going to do this right. Well, we're thinking big. Let's really think outside the box. That space you just talked about. How about getting the women's club, moving it up there and putting it right there facing that green space? How about taking that existing commercial space just to the left of the new proposed fire station and putting a new police station, keeping the police station in the heart of Boynton where people will come and visit it? Okay, instead of High Ridge. That piece of property up in High Ridge I know we bought it with the anticipation of putting a police station there years ago. Times have changed. Things change. We've got to be adaptable. That property is worth millions now. We've been approached a few times by hotel chains asking for that. So if we're going to do this, gentlemen, you're all experts in your field, and we're very lucky to have you on board. And I'm proud to say you're working for us. But this is weak. And I know it's the first one out of the box, but what you're showing me today is weak.
Love the idea about the women's club. It's a great idea. Police station. The police station might have to be 7 or 8 stories on that site. That's the only problem. That site's pretty small.
What's the hotel going to be on the corner?
Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah,
It's going to make a nice bookend.
definitely a good comment. All right, any others on the site plan?
I'm pretty excited about it. As you know, building number 6 along Ocean Avenue Northeast First can be up to debate. I've always said that maybe we want to have some commercial activity in the sense that we want to have jobs where we can have a new industry in Boynton Beach. I know that we just hired a sustainability officer. We're going to have a chilled plant. We're not too far away from Bethesda to get some sort of job growth in the downtown area is what I'm looking for. And as for, the number 9, I think we're all agreeing to that. And whatever you can do to save the trees, because I know that we are going to currently tearing down some very big trees along, where the old amphitheater is.
Yeah.
He's saying that we're all agreeing. I am not agreeing, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
You don't like the open space?
No, no, sir. Please
Okay.
let me speak for myself.
Okay, good.
Vice Mayor, do you have any comments before we move on?
Sure. Yeah, I think to kind of piggyback some of the concerns about the residential configuration, particularly with the building 6 on Ocean, I prefer if it's going to be there that it have retail on the ocean frontage, like you stated, even on the northeast first side of that. I think that, if this is a true mixed-use project, then most of the residential should be on top of retail, in my opinion. I know that there's concern about developing retail or building more retail given the absence of occupants of current retail places, but most of the vacant retail downtown is vacant because there isn't enough economy down there for them to be successful. So I'm not concerned about building additional retail. In fact, I'd like to see way more retail given what we're looking at here, whether it's, every building, maybe with the exception of 7 because it fronts single-family detached residential. But I think you need to try, if you're talking about putting between what'll eventually be, Ocean 1, I forget what they're calling it, the Davy Cavaliers project on Federal.
Village.
No, that's on the other side.
Ocean 1, yeah.
But including that too.
100 Ocean.
And all this is, there's not going to be an absence of foot traffic. There's not going to be an absence of disposable income. I think that, I don't know. I have my concerns, most of which might have to do with configuration of the residential and the absence of retail. Obviously, as you stated, everything in between here and Federal, should fill itself up. To the question of, have we looked into buying those condos? I imagine people who have money have looked into buying every piece of real estate in between this potential project and the marina right now. I know if I had millions of dollars and had any clue how to do all that stuff and wasn't on the city commission, I probably would have bought all this property in anticipation that you could build all sorts of valuable things. So people, I imagine, whatever it is, whether it's Kenny's or any other building on that strip, I assume everyone who has money and is interested in this is already speculating on that property. It's going to fill in. It's just that if this is the bookend, that the residential configuration has to be maybe more conducive to inviting people downtown. It can't just be a residential block, as Commissioner Casella said. What's gonna generate interest to get people down here, especially since this is the first phase of what else will come on Ocean organically. This in itself has to be inviting. It can't just be, even though it'll certainly serve as a driving residential, purpose. It can't just be that. I think it has to have a little bit more amenity for the average person outside of the area to come down here. And I think that increased retail with sidewalks and cafe-style seating, being an essential. If people cannot comfortably sit on the sidewalks of these buildings and the potential retail, no one is going to come here. That's just, if there's one thing, all the criticisms of Atlantic and traffic and this and that, if Atlantic didn't have the comfortable, enjoyable kind of cafe-style seating, that street would be dead. Nobody would go there. So I just urge, in this project, in the areas that there are retail, to make sure that the sidewalks and the outdoor cafe space is just wide enough, to encompass. It could just be what's, at Hurricane Alley right now, 2 rows of tables and then a short fence or something to buffer you from the street. But there needs to be something that invites people down here from the outside as well as creates the residential mix. I think the configuration, particularly with building number 6, both building number 6s in that garage maybe, I don't have a problem with the tunnel configuration, but I could see that raising some eyebrows. I understand. I don't know if you make that some sort of L-shaped building with an archway maybe to allow the street to go through. I don't know. I'm not the guy to do all that, but I just think more imaginative maybe is what I think some people have been getting at up here, to put it in a kind way to say it.
Any further comments before we move on?
I do.
Yep.
Okay, I have a list of them. So, starting at Northeast First, going east, is that Lori? Can you answer this? Is this where the proposed village apartments will be?
Further east.
Further east, one more block.
Yeah. By the railroad.
Yeah. Okay.
So third and fourth.
Okay.
That's first, where our eastern boundary is first, so gotta go over 2 more blocks.
Okay. So on Ocean, what I would potentially like to see is the retail concentrated in there. So I'm going to reiterate what some of the commissioners are saying up here. I would like to see more retail concentrated on the Ocean Ave front. In addition, I'm a little confused as to the location of the splash park. I love it, I love the concept, but I'm not sure if on the, the west side of the high school, if that's the right location for it to be, especially if you're planning on having weddings and beautiful events where people are taking pictures and you have a bunch of kids running around naked or in bathing suits that might, photobomb you. I'm just thinking out loud here.
Great comment. Yeah.
Right. So maybe a different orientation for that, for the positioning of that. I also love Commissioner Casello's comments in terms of the women's club being placed there. I know that that's something, again, that needs to be worked out in terms of negotiations with the condo owners there, but I would like a little bit more, maybe emphasis on trying to see if they would be willing to sell and turn over that property and potentially relocate the women's club to really just bookend the entire location there, to have, the entire historical buildings all in one place, downtown really just revitalized and really taking that into consideration. I want to see buildings 7, those 3 stories there, I want them to be more multifamily focused. So in terms of, again, I'm going to reemphasize home ownership here. So I want to see either condos or what are they called? Townhouses, yes. Either condos or townhouses there on Building 7, again, to reemphasize the community and the single-family homes that would be across the street there on 2nd. So I believe those are the comments that I have right now. I like what you guys have done. I believe we're moving in the right direction, taking into consideration what the commission has set up here and also what the public has given you all. I think you should have a good idea of where we'd like to go with this and what we're potentially seeing, and I look forward to the improvements that you'll be making. I do know that this is a work in progress. This is not set in stone, so I'm amenable to the changes that you will make based on the input that we've given you here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and remember, this is the beginning, not the end.
Yes.
Anything else?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yep, just real quick, I'm not going to vote for any site plan that has a tunnel. That's, I'm sorry. This is
Tunnel.
This is Boynton Beach, not Manhattan. Also, the other thing is, we talked about it, and I believe that the library should be a separate building. I like that last drawing I had seen. I thought we had agreed, and it's not even up for discussion tonight. And just to what Commissioner Ramos was saying, I agree that we've got to do a little more for other than just residential apartments.
Great. All right. I'm going to turn this over to Wayne. What we're going to show you is, again, we've got the comments. This is just the beginning. What we're going to show you is what this City Hall combined library looks like. Now, it's not floor plans. There's no space shown. It's not who goes where yet. It's really just a footprint type going up the floor, so Wayne can explain a little bit how it would work. And again, this is the beginning. We got your comments. Those are great. So just explain this. So,
Colin, before you hit that slide.
All right.
As you start to look at the floor plans on the next pages, I do just want to make a comment that the public realm is on this edge right here. So as you look at Seacrest, our chambers in the next floor plan is here. So we envision this area to be a lively public realm connected by historic moments. So as we get started, I just want to make sure you understand that reference, and we can go back to the site plan as needed. On the first floor plan, so Seacrest is over here. The plan has been rotated 90 degrees clockwise. So the public, the trees are over here, where we talked about the food trucks and being able to close off and activate in evening hours and the weekends was this area right here where the circle is. The parking garage that we looked at was right down here with a connector. And so as we start to lay this layout out, and once again, this is a really basic layout. We haven't got into floor plans. We needed your input and the community input for the last couple of weeks. But as you exit the parking garage, and if you were coming to visit the library or city hall, you would enter either through this door, and this half of the floor plan is library, and then we have a front porch which activates the green space, and it gives you shade and cover so that you can be indoors or outdoors. This actually rolls around, this public event area, this piece rolls around to where the chambers are. So if I were coming to a meeting, I could simply stay undercover. I could go in the building and through, or I could stay out undercover on the patio area and then come through to the chambers area. What we are planning here is most of the public contact, the highest volume of things at the city that happen, we're trying to put on the first floor. And then also with the input from the library, the children's active center would be down at the first floor as well. There was talk about the parking here, and what we've got is we do have a service entry and hallway that gets you in, but also we have a back entrance for the commissioners and commissioners' offices maybe over here, and a back door in there. So this is, as Colin was talking about, this being closed off and secured. That's what can happen here with a direct entrance into the chambers. And I do want to say that in current city hall layouts, like police stations, the focus has been heavy community. So a lot of the new city halls invite the public in, have areas and interaction for the public, moving away from a typical office type setting and more of a civic type setting. So in this plan, the cafe that's in this library, current library, we were planning on putting as a center focal point, which has a gathering area and space, and then there's stairs to get you up to the second, third, and fourth floor, and I've got all of those plans too. And then here we've got breakout spaces, meetings that currently happen on floors 1 and 2 at the City Hall. A lot of those meetings would now happen here with the public building department and other things, and the public can actually have breakout space here too.
Let me ask you a question. You said this is a new thing. Give me an example. Where is one of these built so I can look at it?
Well, actually, we toured, the Orlando City Hall has been completely renovated and has a new layout to it. And so that's the first one that comes to my mind, and that's close. It happens to be a lot larger than this one, but there's several, and I can supply a list that's closer than Orlando. So if I'll give it to Colin to give to you, I'll be glad to send you a few.
Something new, I want to be able to walk and see, I don't want you to tell me it's something new and I don't,
Completely understand.
All right.
Yes.
Just a suggestion for next time, for continuity's sake, please leave the building in the same orientation you showed it to us in the last image. That way we're still following the same projection. So now you've flipped it on me. I mean, I can follow, but I would prefer to have it in the same orientation you showed it to us originally.
Completely understand.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. You want to go to the second floor? Yeah. And the second floor, what we've done is we're able to get the library on the second floor. So there are stairs and there's communicating space. So this is a 2-story volume with places to sit and learn as well. So you come up to the second floor library. And we've got Alex Cohen working on this. He hasn't finished the plans yet, but he's a world-renowned library designer. And he's working on both this first and second floor. And then if you'll go to the third. On the third floor, we have more of the traditional offices for the City Hall. And then you go upstairs. This is the third floor. You take stairs or elevators. This is a public area here with some public breakout space, but beyond this wall, it becomes more of a private place that you'd have to be badged to get into. And then once again, the fourth floor we've made smaller as well. And so we get the stair-step effect that we showed in the beginning rendering so that we can take advantage of the Mediterranean or coastal layout. So up here would be more offices, and then also this would also be public, but then you'd be badged to get beyond that point. And then we do have some outdoor space at the very top as well that could be a patio. And once again, we're still working on those floor plans, laying it out.
Where's the city manager's office, and does she have a balcony?
Yeah. Yeah, we hope so. But we're actually going to put her in this building. Yeah, we haven't, we're still working on all the floor plan ideas, but we really needed your input before we go. And again, this is a iterative process.
The library, I mean, with this modern day age of Wi-Fi and high-tech things like that, and people reading less and less books, coming to the library to get, I'll probably get some boo and hisses here, but, think about this. We've got a couple of county libraries not too far from here. Do we really need a library? And we can debate that. Okay, I guess we do. All right. I just thought I'd throw that out there. But, will this be, would this have the high-tech stuff in it?
Yes.
Right into the 21st.
Absolutely. Alex Cohen, when he came in, and I wish I had some of this stuff, and we'll bring this to you, but he had some great ideas for these 21st century libraries, and it was very high tech.
Okay.
There's things like a Genius Bar, like a,
Okay.
so
Okay.
absolutely.
Good enough.
Okay, can I jump in?
Yeah, sure.
I heard you mention a couple of things. I'm speaking for myself here, but I don't think I really need a commissioner office. I believe that we would potentially have footprint for so many other things that we would need those spaces for. So I think a communal space would probably be fine, where maybe just one or two offices where if a commissioner needs to meet with the public, they can. But I don't think we each individually need an office. Maybe the mayor, perhaps, I don't know. But I don't think we need to, that would be space that probably potentially would not be used. I prefer to meet with my constituents either in at a Panera or maybe just somewhere, whatever, like we would have here on campus, like a Starbucks or something. I wouldn't particularly want an office for that purpose.
Very, very good point. And the cafe out front and some of the breakout spaces are perfect for what you're talking about
Right.
as well. So very good point.
Right.
Let me jump in, and say this, we are only sitting for a couple more years, and I'm just saying, we're not supposed to. I'm just saying maybe the ones beyond us might want an office. I'm just saying, like we have in City Hall now, that's fine,
Yeah, so I think the
Understood.
comment is just some, I think we
Yeah, I
got
think
the
that's what
comment.
we're contemplating was
Yeah.
an office, maybe, at the most, maybe two.
Yeah,
So
like
there's,
a
that's
communal
it.
space,
Flex
not
space.
five. Two. Okay,
Flex
thank you.
space.
Not
That's,
five.
I
Right
just
next
wanted
to
to make
the
sure we're
clerk's
not
office.
creating
Yeah.
5 offices that would potentially rarely be
privacy,
used.
but-
Okay. And then I would also suggest co-working spaces in the new library or the revamped library.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah, again, this is the beginning.
Yeah.
We're hoping, once we get the library consultant in and he starts doing it, that's the kind of, the space you're talking about is the kind of space he's proposing, which is really, I think is, I'm going to be passionate here about it, I think it's really cool space. It's a lot of workspace. People can come in and do things.
Yeah.
It's not just a library to come read. It's a library, it's an information center, it's an art center, it's technology, it's a place where people gather to get stuff done and to learn and to enjoy all the activities. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely on the right track, and that's the direction we want to move in. So we love that comment.
Okay, and you also have potentially a lot of the universities like FAU, Lynn, and some of the others in our vicinity, PBA potentially, where I would ideally like to see kind of a more, I don't want to say futuristic, that's not the word I'm looking for, like where people can develop things.
Makerspace.
Makerspace.
Yeah, we have
or
a
something.
makerspace on the
Yeah.
first floor, or contemplating it on the
Yeah,
first floor.
That's what I-
we're definitely contemplating makerspace. That's something that's really important in a library, City Hall, we think, is a place where people can do just that. And we would love to partner with some universities, too, and I think there's some conversations going on with some of that, because I think that's really, again, going back to Commissioner Casello's point, is to make this lively, you got to bring those things in so it is lively. So people will come.
Good.
Because it's the place they're going to go to get that information.
Great.
So Colin, to Dr. Glass's question, we're not going to have a University of Boynton?
You can, if you would like one.
You absolutely could if you want one.
Just thought that had to be asked.
But in regards to universities, I'm just saying, we already have a borrowing system that, this library here is, we borrow from different libraries, and I'm just saying, it's not like we don't go out beyond these walls, and I just want that to be stated. We do go out, because I borrow books, and they have to go all the way to Lakeland sometime to get them for me. I'm just saying, so we are intertwining. Thank you.
Yeah, great comments. Good. Thank you very much. All right, so I don't see any more, so I'm going to move in, and this is I'm going to try to do this quick because I'm going to do this, and I'm passionate about it, but I'll try to do it quickly so I don't bore you. But one of the things we looked at is we did look at energy as one of the things to do here, and one of the best ways to meet some of our goals is to do a centralized district energy plant, which is basically a cooling plant that cools water, ships it to the building, and comes back hot, and you cool it down. And so we hired a consultant about a month and a half ago to look at a high-level report to see whether or not it's feasible. They came back and said it's absolutely feasible. And it's feasible just for the government buildings, but it would be even better if we could get the private development in. So we've been working with John and with some of the other private developers to say we want to do this for the whole town square. So we can build a building that will house this equipment in a centralized location that will blend in to the rest of the buildings, where people will feel like it's always been there and it's always been part of this environment we're creating. And then, the idea is it run it as a utility. So then the funding that comes in a utility, there's a transfer back in to help pay for the project. So it's another way to raise some funding for the project. So the executive summary, I'm not going to hit all of these. You can read it, but there's definitely an advantage to central chilled water, for efficiency advantage, and there's a cost advantage. It is cheaper to produce the energy needed for these buildings in a centralized plant than it is doing individual. You can avoid, the customers that take advantage of the initial cost of some of that cooling equipment because it's absorbed into the utility, and we collect that cost over the rates over the years. There is an estimate, it's greater than 50% of their cost in the basic central energy compared to them doing it themselves. So it's good for people to do this. And we'll establish a rate that will show that savings to both the private developers and to the city. So the city will see the savings in that energy, which again is good for the future since this is a long-term project. Basic cost for a plant would we're estimating right now, very high level, about $10 million. Again, those are utility funds. This would be a utility and set up as a utility. And we're looking at maybe $300,000 to $400,000 in funding that could go back to the project over the lifetime of the project. We'll look at a rate structure that'll be comparable to electric. My goal would, in the district energy systems that I have managed before, we've always made the price to the customer slightly less than it would cost them to do their own electric and their own power. So it's good for them and it's good for us. It's good for everybody. Everybody wins in that. And we're also going to investigate some things that will even make it more efficient, which is thermal storage, which is actually making ice at night that you use during the day to cool the water, because it makes you can build a smaller system, a smaller energy footprint. And then possibly looking at your own generation of electricity, which also then creates the hot water for these customers when you generate power. So we're looking at those. Don't know if we're going to do them yet. Those are something we'll look into. But definitely the district energy makes sense to do from a financial standpoint. It is going to save the city money many, many years to come. It also cuts way down on the footprint needed for the cooling of all of these buildings, because you're putting it all in one place instead of scattered out all over the place. So I just wanted to show this, and I'm not going to hit all this, but one of the things that I found interesting in doing district energy is there was a study done by about a team of 200 scientists to look at what's the top 100 climate solutions to help with climate change, to reduce carbon footprint. And in those 100 items that they came up with, number 27 was doing centralized chilled water. So we're actually fitting into that plan, which does meet in our climate action on some of the things we said we wanted to do. So it's not only going to save us money, it's also helping us with lowering our carbon footprint. And so those are just some interesting facts I wanted to throw up there. So what are we talking about doing? We're talking about putting a footprint in this area. This is the high school as it exists right now. This is that parking lot area. We're talking about putting a facility in there. It would basically be a 2-story facility that would match the high school. You wouldn't. The goal is when it's done, it looks like that it was built as part of the high school. That's the goal. Bottom floor would be the equipment, like you saw in the picture previously that I was showing, and the top floor would be cooling towers, because you do have to have cooling towers. We would put noise attenuation in there so you wouldn't hear it. And staff has visited some of these sites, and I've run these sites, and you can build these so they're very quiet, they're very efficient, and they blend right into the neighborhood, and you don't even know they're there. So that's kind of the idea. We really believe it's very feasible, and we'd like to move to the next session is actually start doing some preliminary design work on it, because we haven't done that yet. So that's one of the things we're going to ask you all tonight to do. So any questions on district energy before I get into it? Yes.
Go ahead.
Colin, you had a couple of pictures of some establishments that what the facade looks like. You got them?
Yeah, I didn't put them in here. I did not put them in here, but I do, and I can send those out. You can make the facade look like pretty much anything you want, and what we're picturing is actually a facade that matches the Mediterranean, I don't know what you call, architect, tell me what you call the high school, I don't know what that's called, whatever that architectural style is called, to match that. Because since it's right behind it, it'll look like it's part of that, and it was always there. And so we'll match that kind of architectural on the outside.
How much space between that building and the high school? What, would that be an alleyway or?
It won't be, it will be wider than an alleyway. Not sure yet. It will definitely be a secured location, so it's not a place where it'd be open to the public all the time. The reason we wanted to keep some space is you do need some fire protection and some things like that in there. You want to be able to reach a building. But we would definitely secure that location because we don't want alleyways where people can go in, the public can go in. So it's more for employees, employee use. I don't know the width. It's going to be somewhere between 15 feet. I'd like to make it a little wider, but we have to get into design first. Again, remember we're at the beginning. We're looking at about a 4,000 square foot footprint for the energy plant. So if that's 3,000, that'll be wider. But again, it's not going to be an alley open to the public.
And that would serve all the buildings we've talked about, the residential?
Yes.
The public?
It'll serve everything in that town square, plus we would size it to serve some things outside this too, because if it's a utility, we want it to grow, because utilities we designed them to serve the public to the maximum amount possible. So we're actually sizing it so there's a couple of other developments that are proposed that we could also serve.
All right, let me ask my question. E2L Real Estate Solution, we have a representative here tonight? Okay, good. Anybody here from LLC Solutions?
It's one of the same.
Oh, you're one and the same?
Well, are you talking about the community facility partners?
Right there it says Real Estate Solutions.
Yes.
And it says LLC of Winter Park, Florida.
Right.
To provide.
That's correct.
That's you?
That's me.
Okay, yeah, one entity. Okay, that's what I need to know. Okay, Colin, my question is that, will this building be fenced in? Because I'm just saying, we're trying to make something look nice, and then we're talking about where the public can't get to it, and you do need to send me some pictures. I'm just...
Yeah, I will send some pictures. The building won't be fenced. It's just the exterior of the building will match the architecture around it, so it'll look like a building, even though it's an energy plant. Right now, if you walk around, you see all these cooling stuff outside, and it's fenced in. You won't have any of that. It'll be inside a structure that'll look like the rest of the structures on the site. So when you're walking by it, you won't tell.
I seen something where water rolls down, and then it goes like and trickles down. Is this something?
That's the cooling tower. That's how the cooling tower works, and that'll be on the upstairs. But you put the sound attenuation around it, so you can't see it and you can't hear it.
You do need to send me some pictures.
So we'll send you some pictures.
I've got some on my phone.
Yeah, we've got some on the phone. We can send you right now.
I don't mind.
The thing about it is we can design the building to look like anything we need it to look like. So it's not going to be a fenced industrial structure. It'll look like it's part of the town square. As compared to if you did individual ones, you would have an area where you'd have these outdoor compressors spread out all over the place and all of that noise and all that. So we're avoiding that. So there is an architectural reason to do it also, because you avoid a lot of that extra stuff.
What is the life of this chiller system? Is it going to be the same as the buildings?
Well, the building will be. Equipment is just like any utility equipment. Each piece of equipment has different life. A chiller is about 20 years. You replace a chiller about every 20 years. A cooling tower, you generally recondition about every 10 years. That's much less than building new reconditioning, meaning basically you replace the packing that's in them. I'm trying not to get too engineering here, but about every 10 years you replace the packing in the cooling tower. About every 20 years you replace the chillers. There's some pumps and things like that that might last between 10 and 20 years. So it would go on a routine maintenance just like we do, and your rates are charged to cover those replacement costs over the life for 100 years, just like we do with water plants, sewer plants, pump stations, and everything else we own.
Is there like a dual system in case one breaks, there's another one that's...
Absolutely. You build these with full backup, because the worst thing you can do is not provide chilled water. So you do build them with full backup. So when one system's down, another system's running.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Romulus.
So I remember we talked and you mentioned that there would be some type of like districts or tax or something for the individuals that this energy plant would be serving, correct?
Yeah, that's in the financial package, and there's a lot of options. That is an option. There's a lot more options, and I'm going to be honest with you, we don't have that yet. So we haven't. The district energy itself will be paid for by a rate, and it's. I'll get into it. You charge by BTU. So when you send the cold water to a building, it goes through a BTU meter. Actually, it goes through a thermostat is basically what it goes through. It measures the temperature. So it goes into the building at a certain temperature. It collects the heat, puts it in the water, and then when it goes out the building, you measure the temperature. And that delta is converted to BTUs, and you're charged per BTU. And that's how you're charged for the energy you're using. So we would collect the money to pay for this utility out of that rate, just like we do in every other utility. That's why you set it up as a utility. So every single individual, so if it goes to the private residential units, they'll be paying that cost per BTU, just like they would pay for electric if they were using an electric-driven system on their own. So it works, so the customer, it works the same way. They'll just get it on their bill.
Right. The reason for my question was just to lead to the point that even with whatever financial package you guys work out, the cost to the individuals living within this district that will be on that district energy plant would still be less considerably than FPL or whoever power energy supply would potentially be?
Yeah, the district energy utilities that I've managed, we always set the rate so it's less costly than the power company would charge you. Because you want to keep it competitive. So it's at least equal to or less than.
And it would still allow for the city potentially to make a profit?
Yes, that's the plan.
Thank you.
Now, and we'll bring back all of that information later. So with that, what we're asking tonight, and the reason we're bringing it tonight, because on the district energy, we do want to move forward with the design so we can really nail down these details, because there's a lot of details that have to be developed and planned out for this. And so what we're asking you is to authorize the mayor to sign the first amendment to the contract to move forward with the district energy system in design. And we're also looking, if you remember back when we first presented this, we said that the utilities had not, we had these blocks in our Central Seacrest Phase 1 project that we didn't do. And we said utilities was going to pay for the water and sewer infrastructure for this. So the first part of that is the design for that, and we're asking you to authorize, because right now it's already in the contract, but it's not funded yet. So this is the funding mechanism to fund the water and sewer design for this out of utilities. So both of these costs comes out of utilities. The money is budgeted and funded for that. So that's what we're asking you to do tonight, if it's your desire to do.
Just explain what the two numbers mean to me. What's the 307 and what's the 69?
The 307 is to do the utility development of the utility for the district energy utility, and to start the design work on the plant itself and all the piping. Remember, it's not just the plant, it's the plant, and there's piping throughout the complex that have to be designed. And it's a loop system. It goes out and it has to come back. So it's two pipes going everywhere, out and back. So that's what that's for, is to get that design so we can get a guaranteed maximum price like we're getting on the rest of the project. So that's what the $307,000 is for. The $69,000 is for the design of the water pipes, the sewer pipes, and the stormwater pipes that we had in another project that we didn't do because we knew this project was moving forward. And that's in our utility fund also. So that goes to the engineer, Kimley Horn. Actually, it's going to go to E2L Real Estate Solutions, and Kimley Horn works for E2L Real Estate Solutions. So that's what those two numbers are for, and they're both out of the utility fund.
I'm going to ask the question, this is for design. What if this project, Town Square, don't fly? Then we just...
The utility work needs to be done anyways. Remember, we need to upgrade these water lines, and we didn't do it, so we're waiting for this. If you don't decide not to move forward, we would still upgrade the utility lines. Now, the district energy, it would be just exploratory funds. I do believe that there's other places in the city that the district energy is going to be useful, maybe on federal highways. So we're looking at this as a long-term utility to grow, not just one plant, but multiple plants throughout the city to serve developments as they redevelop. There's other places in the city over the next 20 to 30 years that are going to redevelop into a little bit more dense environment, both east and west of 95, and we believe that the district energy is a good utility to have for the city to grow into those areas as those customers need it. So if you decide not to move over, yes, a little bit of that we won't use, but that's in that utility money that we fund to do exploratory work. That's your utility set up to do that. We do exploratory work to buy other utilities. We do exploratory work to develop undeveloped areas, and sometimes they don't move forward. But those are all in our budgets, and we budget for that in a utility to make sure we can grow the utility.
You just said something like, and it bothers me, you said we do exploratory work, Colin, and we don't move forward. That's like we do plans for the city, we do different plans for this, and this, and we have shelves of plans, and I'm just saying, well, we have not utilized them, and, we voted for them, and it bothers me when I think that I'm wasting citizens' money. I'm just saying, like exploratory means that I'm exploring this, whether it works or not, and like taking a plan and putting it back on the shelf, like the projects that we've been doing, we've been putting them on the shelf, and it's bothering me. I want to vote on something that I know is going to come out the ground. I don't like that. I'm tired of, voting and nothing's happening.
Yeah, I can tell you that when I got here to the city 3.5 years ago, there were plans on the shelf. All of those plans have been built. So we are building them now.
Sir, stop.
The question is...
Stop, please stop. Maybe all the plans in the utility has been built, but don't tell me all the plans
No,
on the
you're right.
shelves have
It's
been built.
utilities.
Okay.
You're absolutely right, in utilities.
Okay.
Well, with that track record, I'm going to move forward with agreeing with the resolution. Is there any other comments from the board?
So this plant would be built with the infrastructure to allow for growth, for us to move further and around the city with this?
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't build a plant like this without planning for the growth around it. So we would be planning for growth around it based on the zoning and the land use that's in place.
So my other question is, as we move forward, we are also in the financials prepping for growth and prepping for the inevitable of us being able to
I can hardly hear you. I'm
sustain
sorry.
ourselves, correct?
Yes. Again, it's a utility and it would be designed to be sustainable. You don't run a utility that's not sustainable. So yes, that's the purpose of this, is to not only start the design work and get all those costs, it's also to create the utility to make sure it's sustainable for a long term for the citizens of Boynton Beach.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1.
So just to end this, and again, this is not really vote, we're looking for a consensus, because remember, this is the beginning of this process. We've got a lot of work to do. We've gotten some great comments today. So these are just some of the questions that I think we asked today, and just kind of in this way is first question is do we think we're going in somewhat the right direction with the comments that we received tonight and the comments we're receiving from our workshops? Are we, is the police department site plan generally moving in the right direction? So that's the first question.
Does the board want to do a roll call, just go down yes or no?
Yeah, that'd be easy.
Okay. So for the police department draft site plan, I say yes.
I say yes.
Sure.
No?
I'm going to complicate it a little bit here. I like it. I would, again, like to just emphasize location-wise, because I concur with what Commissioner Costello has said. I believe that there is really good potential for that High Ridge area there, and if it's possible to negotiate with the owners of this existing commercial here to potentially have it put there, I'd love to see that. I think a little more effort can be done to try to bring those individuals to the table, because they have some really good opportunities here to be involved in a project that's going to potentially give them a really good bang for their buck if they decide to sell. So I would like to see that fire and police put together here right next to Town Square and leave that High Ridge region for private development in order to generate some more some tax revenue from that area.
I'll piggyback that, because that's a separate piece than the question up there. If it's built on High Ridge, then that's for you to decide what's the best configuration. But if I had my choice, in agreement with what Commissioner Ramos just said and what Commissioner Costello has expressed for an extended period of time up here and prior to me even coming up here, if I had my choice, I'd rather keep it on the east side of town. If that's a separate question in itself, not the site plan but the location, I think that there were 3 people here who expressed some interest in preserving that High Ridge site for development because of its value.
Let me ask the city manager, because I know the answer is yes. That property was purchased to put the fire station there police station when we bought that. That's what was voted upon by commissioners prior, and this is what I'm saying. I voted, sir, I understand. Please let me talk. I know it doesn't matter because things go lapse, but I wanted to be stated for the record. We promised the citizens that we was going to build the police station and the fire station on High Ridge Road. Am I correct?
Yes, sir, that was the
Thank you.
discussions at the time. contemplated
Thank
what
you.
was the-
Now, whatever happens after
So,
that, but
Colin, the direction is to see if you can find some more land in East Boynton Beach to put it. If not, then the High Ridge site.
Okay. Great. That's great comments. We appreciate it. Good direction. So, and I know we've gotten a lot of comments on the site plan. Those are all great comments. I think all of those we're going to look at and figure out how do we respond, how do we bring you, revised and better ideas. But again, are we going in the right direction is the question. Really, do you think we're going in the right direction or not? That's the question.
I'm not happy with Ocean, but I guess you're going in the right direction. I'm just saying, I need to see more. I need to see more in the library. I'm just saying, you tell me things are happening with the City Hall. Pictures is worth 1,000 words. I'm just saying, I need to be able to see.
Vice Mayor?
I think just the residential configuration, whether that's literally, location and site plan themselves or, some combination of condo, townhouse, apartment. Like I said, I don't know if it's the appropriate word, but more imaginative, I think, would be more fitting.
Commissioner Casella?
No.
Commissioner Romulus?
Yes, and again, with the caveat that I'd like to see a more centralized retail being put on Ocean. I'd like to see multifamily and more ownership on the Building 7 component, and just really kind of reactivating that whole Ocean Ave. And I do understand the fact that, yes, east of Ocean, east of, not east on Ocean, east of Northeast First, that our redesigning this area will reactivate that area, but I'd like to also have our own input on potentially Building 6 there. That's on the corner of Northeast First and Ocean, to have that retail component. That way it could basically start. We could be touting our own horn and saying, okay, we're starting it, and we ask you guys to continue that process. So that's my input. But yes, I do see you moving in the right direction. I think you guys are trying to put as much as you can in terms of what we're saying into action. I think there's a lot more work to be done, so we're going in the right direction. So yes.
And show me what you could do without putting that tunnel there that you don't call it, and, give me another.
I called it a tunnel. I don't think they want to call it a tunnel.
That's what it is. If you got to go through a hole, it's a tunnel.
So, I have no problem with the tunnel. I think it's
We're gonna leave.
I don't think this.
We
is the,
won't build the Boston Tunnel. I can tell you that.
That's what it kind of makes sense. Just to keep Northeast First Avenue regarding the corners of Northeast First Street and Ocean Avenue, not just retail but commercial. If there's any office spaces down there, I don't know if any of you have contacts with other industries, but this place is, Florida. We do have tax-free state. We're very close to I-95, close to the port, close to airports. I think that I'd like to see if there's any sort of corporate offices that would like to relocate to our town square.
So that is David Scott's job. So let's get to work, David. Thank you. I will add on to that in terms of the whole tunnel thing, I have no issue with that. My only concern is just safety. As long as we design it where, if somebody's getting out of the parking garage, they're not getting T-boned by somebody going through that area. So maybe potentially speed barriers or speed bumps, whatever, to make sure that no one's flying down Northeast First Ave there. And again, to protect the safety of individuals that would be potentially coming in and out of that garage. That would be my only concern. But I'm totally okay with it being a tunnel or whatever it needs to be architecturally.
All right. Any further comments on this item? Seeing none.
So the next one, I think we got plenty of feedback on, so I don't even know if I want to ask it, because I think we got a lot of feedback. We got a lot of work to do. Remember, this is the beginning. Now we got to take this feedback and figure out, where to go and bring some things back to you. This is the iterative process we go through. So we get your feedback, we look at it. So I'm just going to end that. Is there any other comments or directions you think we need to know as a team that would help us keep this thing moving in the right direction, so we can bring you something that meets the vision of, for the city?
I know that we don't have an overlay regarding this area just yet. But my main thing is that it's the sustainability aspect of it. I don't know if we have a green LEED certification that we're aiming for. But I know that now we don't have to have chillers on the roofs. If we can have something, to maximize the space that we have, whether it be a patio on the roof that we normally don't see, just because, there isn't much height in Boynton Beach. So once you have a view, I think they said, someone told me that if you're in the tower on the Children's Schoolhouse Museum, you can see the ocean. So we have some great views, and just to maximize the views of Boynton Beach. Commissioner McCray?
I'm really, I'm going to be honest with you all. I'm not in favor of what I see, and that's what I'm going to leave it.
Vice Mayor?
I'm good for now.
I think we've hashed this out pretty good. You know where I stand on it. I think we can do better. But it's a start.
Commissioner Romulus?
I'll ditto what the mayor mentioned in terms of sustainability and green space. I'd love to see more green space. I'd love to see some living walls. I'd love to see just any ability to create more green in this whole layout. So as much as that as we can incorporate garden spaces, rooftop gardens, whatever that we can do to just add greenery and add beauty to this space, I would definitely be in favor of that.
All right.
Great.
Right.
Great. I mean, I think we got really good input. We got to get to work. I just want to end up by saying, remember, tomorrow is the job fair. Thursday is the workshop on the open space and public art, and really how to incorporate public art into this. I know, and we'll keep moving forward, and we're going to keep informed. That's what these are for, so we can work with y'all together to make sure we continue moving in the right direction to bring you a product in November that you can be pleased with, knowing we're moving in the right direction. And yes, this is the beginning, and we're shooting for an end, but we're not there yet, anywhere close yet. So, thanks.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.